Welcome to Clean the Quilt with Kurt. I have my quilt that I've been using for 2 years now, and I think it's about time to clean it up. So I'm going to show you the process, but first let's look at a before. So the first thing I want to show is this is the quilt kind of held up in the sun. You can see on the seams it looks a little thin. So I'm going to see if cleaning this, washing the quilt and doing the process I'm going to do, if that kind of sorts that out. I've had this quilt for about 2 years, and it just doesn't seem like it's as warm as it used to be. So that's one of the reasons I'm cleaning this up, to see if I can fluff it back up and reinstitute the warmth. I watched a YouTube video of a fellow from the States who hand washed his quilt, and he goes through a really lengthy process. It's really a well done video, but it's like an all-day process. So I did a little bit more exploring and found this stuff that I picked up at Kathmandu that uses a washing machine. So that's what I tried on an old sleeping bag that I had, and it worked out really well. So that's what I'm going to be using on my quilt this time around as well. This is what I'm using, Granger's Down Wash. I got it from Kathmandu for $36. Uses just a little bit of that capful. So, I mean, I'll be using this for quite a long time. But this is what I used on my other sleeping bag, and I had no problem. So we're going to try it again on this quilt. So here we go. Quilt in the washing machine. All right, it's in the washing machine. I close the door. Turn the power on. And we're going to put, the instructions say to put a half a capful of this into the washing machine. So I'm going to do that now. Half a capful of that. Then I set this to the hand and wool setting on our washing machine. I close that, and here we go. Okay, be easy on my quilt. See you in 36 minutes. Now comes the darkest moment in the narrative. When you pull your quilt out and you say, "It's ruined, Andre, ruined." What ruined, Andre? Ruined! Wet, it's a mess. It's like, oh, why did I do this? But we're gonna put it in the dryer and let it do its work. The quilt is in the dryer, and here is the key from what I understand, is putting 3 tennis balls in there to kind of help with the fluffing up process. So they go in there, and I close the door. I put the power on, and on this setting, you want it the coolest heat that you can have, if that's a word. And reading the manual, delicates is the best place to be. And so it just gets a little bit warm, and this will probably take around 3 to 4 cycles. So this is the long process, but it slowly is drying the quilt and fluffing it up at the same time. So here we go. Okay, first cycle is done. Let's see how it's doing. Yeah, that's not too bad. One of the things I know is when you change between cycles is you just make certain that all the tennis balls are still loose. When I was doing this the first time with my sleeping bag, there was a couple times the tennis balls got caught in the hood. So just make sure that they're still loose, so they're still kind of moving around in there. And here we go, cycle number 2. Make sure it's back on the, yes, make sure it's on that low heat. That's really important. Here we go. Cycle number 2 is done. Let's see how that is. All right, well, there's 1 tennis ball. It's easy to find. Let's see. Yeah, it's still getting there. You still feel a little bit of dampness. There's the other tennis balls. I'll throw them back in the corner here. Let them spread out a little bit. And let's try another cycle. cycle number 3 is now done. Now, this dryer is sensing that it feels drier than what I feel, because it's not doing the full 36 minutes or whatever it's supposed to be. That last one was only about 3 or 4 minutes. So let's see what's going on here. All right, there's my tennis balls. Let's feel, that's nice and fluffy, that's for certain. It just feels still a little damp. Oh, right in the middle where it was twisted, that's certainly damp. So let's try this again, where I'm going to put this back in without the twisting, and let's see what happens if we can get a longer cycle. Such happy music. Okay, now we're going to check again to see if it's that middle part. Yeah, look, it's twisting up there in the middle part. So this is interesting. Yeah. Okay, it's still pretty damp there in the middle where it was twisted. So I'm gonna throw these guys there, and let's see. I might have to do this two-hand and kind of see if I can straighten it out without it getting twisted. All right. So what I did this time was I just put it in kind of so it ends around this way rather than goes in that way. So it's kind of laying this way, wrapped around. So hopefully it'll take care of that little twist area in the middle. Here we go. Here we go again. Let's see if that twist is taken care of. Oh, the ball is nice and warm. All right. Yeah, that's feeling pretty good. I don't see any twisting. Looks pretty dry all the way around. Nice and fluffy. Let's go have a look in front of the window. Well, there we go. I've got the fluffiness back up in the feet, but I'm not real crazy about how it's looking in the middle part there. Okay, I'm doing this as well. I found that there's a lot of clumping up at the top corners and the top of these baffles. So just kind of beating this a little bit has released some of the feathers a little bit more. Still a little bit thin in some places, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, last thing I'm doing is just kind of letting it air dry. That final, any kind of moisture just kind of air out. And I am noticing that the edges feel pretty good. The middle feels kind of flat. The foot box feels really nice and fluffy. So it may just be a matter of there's just not a lot of down in the middle section. There's no clumping that I'm seeing, which is, I'm pretty happy about that. So overall, good process, pretty quick and easy. Like I said, I might have to check and see if I can get a little bit more down put into those middle baffles around the body area. But there's no clumping of the feathers. So if you have a quilt and you think it needs a good clean, I recommend the process. It hasn't damaged the quilt at all. It's fluffed it up a little bit more, and we'll see how it goes next time I have a cold night. All right, it's been about a week and a half since I cleaned the quilt, and you know, when I had a look at it, I realized it was a little bit light on the down in the top middle part. And so I contacted Deborah at the Kiwi Ultralight, and she gave me some suggestions about redistributing the down around the quilt, but then also said she'd be willing to add some down into the quilt. So in the end, I decided that's what I want to do, because I'm a cold sleeper. I want that quilt as warm as I can get it. So I Posted it down to her. She had about a week. I think she said she added at the end about 45 grams of down into the top part of the sleeping bag. So I'm getting ready to open up the package that she sent and have a look at what she ended up doing. I know I'm going to be really happy with it because I like a nice warm quilt. So let's have a look at what ended up happening. All right, well, there it is. You can see there's definitely a lot more down in those middle sections, and I'm sure as I kind of fluff it up a little bit and move that down around, that's going to be really good. I'm really happy with what Deborah did. Yeah, so that's going to be a much warmer quilt. I'm looking forward to now trying it out on a really good cold night here. So I've been asked a couple times, why a quilt rather than a sleeping bag? Studies have shown apparently that the part that you sleep on a sleeping bag compresses underneath of you, doesn't provide any extra warmth. So the idea behind a quilt is you just don't have that extra part. It saves a little bit of weight. This quilt is so super light. They're not easy to get here in New Zealand. If you are in New Zealand, I highly recommend that you check out Kiwi Ultralight. Deborah there, she also goes by Chili Bin Hikes. She has a YouTube channel. I definitely would suggest you have a look at her stuff. Really reasonably priced, good quality stuff. But I highly recommend getting a quilt over a sleeping bag, and I think you'll really enjoy that. So that's the end of Clean the Quilt with Kurt. It's been about a 2-week process, including shipping and getting it fixed back up with some added down. And hopefully this has been a helpful video for you. If you ever want to clean your quilt or your sleeping bag, this is a good method. I'm really happy with the results. All right, see you next time.